You're familiar with Sandex and how Sandex has revolutionized well completion by the removal of sand from the flowback process. We've been through half a dozen different iterations over the time in the history of our company, but today I would like to share with you our newest innovation, the Boss.
We're looking at the Boss, and its origin is coming from the realization that when we increase the volume or the capacity of the hopper, we increase the ability to contain the sand. And so the retention time of that extra volume makes the difference.
One of the issues that we had were the volume from the larger fracs, the volume of sand flowing back, and also the size of the sand is decreasing, the 100 mesh, the 200 mesh. So it became apparent in the development of the Beast that the increased retention time helped remove more of the sand. So that's when the Boss was dreamed up.
And it's doubled so that it'll handle a big volume of sand.
And then we have a secondary weir to catch any sand that flows out of the original hopper. That reduces the clean out cost. It pretty much minimalizes the clean out cost.
So the information back so far is that we get a lot less sand over the original weir in the Boss than we do even in the Beast. They just keep putting more sand at us because the more stronger they flow back, the bigger the wells have become. And so we're constantly trying to stay up with the industry, and the only way to find out how to stay up with them is have a fleet of tanks out in the field. Okay, all of the units have this container. It holds the list of the operating procedure for the Sandex. So it's important for everybody to read that before they get started. These black flanges here are holding the 1502 by 2 or 3, whatever the company option is. And this is where they hook on their panic lines to flow back into, and this is called the gas buster. It has an expansion tube and then a case. This expansion tube has many holes going down through it, and it just lets the pressure of that fluid flowing back be released. There's sacrificial plates lined up along the back of this, and this is like the access to take that off and to replace those plates. And then it has a 2-inch slope in 8 foot to flow the liquid back to this end. So all of the liquid comes out here and drops through this area.
So then everything that flows through the gas buster lands on that tray, flows over a magnet to remove any metal pieces that might get caught up in the auger system, and then it flows down this tray to the very back of the hopper so that we have the maximum amount of retention time we could possibly get.
And one reason that the gas buster is elevated is when they're drilling plugs out, they want to see the return fluid, because if it stops, it gives them an idea that they may be losing flow, and they want to get back out of the hole so they don't get stuck.
You'll find 3 8-inch flanges, flange hookups on every gas buster, and what this does is it accommodates our super loop package. So you've got your two inlets for the augers off of the super loop, the Royal Super Loop or Hero Super Loop, and then you've got the top flange here is for the overflow. There's
a V-weir on the front of the hopper, so before they can strap, they have to have some volume. So when it overflows this hopper, there's a chart for the V-weir, and they can look at the depth of the fluid running over and get a idea of the volume.
Flowback volume.
Flowback. And that's where the fluids run over out of the hopper. And so the depth of it running over gives you an idea of the volume that they're returning back to the hopper.
At the front of the tank, we have 2 access points that you can get to measure to do your strapping, to measure the barrels in the actual tank. This would be the only access that you have to the actual tank itself outside of the hopper. We have, on all the tanks, there's a strapping chart at the front for your reference, so you can tell, how many barrels per inch when you're gauging. All of our Sandex units and Royal units are sent out with a grease gun. This allows for easy access to a grease gun, so if a guy doesn't have one with him or whatever, there's always one on top of the Sandex so that he can maintain the bearings daily. Another feature that you'll find on every Sandex is in every auger, there's a 3-inch hose attached to it, and that is to flush out the augers after in between jobs, or if you're going to clean it out to do some maintenance or work on it. Anyway, you'll just hook that up to fresh water and flush the auger tubes out, and you'll have the 2 ball valves open at the bottom of the hopper.
In the situation where the Sandex goes out standalone, in other words, not with our super loop, a lot of times we'll haul a panel and it's on a frame, and the frame is locked down and hauled on this platform with these clamps.
How often are these open, or what are these access ports that are open?
Well, every time they clean them out, they've got to, if they have to clean sand out of the front of this, then they open it up. And then they go through them if they have to work on a valve or something. This valve used to be the gel line in a frac tank, so the oil field will know what that is. But now it's just a short line in order to take fluid off of this whole 500 barrel tank. And then this valve it's got a pipe that goes over and down into a sump, so that when you pull off of it, it'll take all of the fluid off of the front of this thing. And then this is a equalizer manifold, so it has the ability to hook a great big 8-inch hose to equalize to another frac tank. But it also gives ports where they can pull off of it. And in a frac tank, it's built to go over and down into the sump, but this one is built to go over and up to about this high on the tank, so that the water's trapped. If there is fine sand coming over, the face powder kind that sometimes you don't get because of the specific gravity so high, then at least it'll trap that water, and it'll be mostly fresh water equalizing into the next door frac tank.
And that's for the purpose of reusing the water.
Some of them put tanks next to it to store, and their vacuum trucks suck out of those tanks to haul it to a disposal well. But some of them are reusing the fluid. They've realized they don't have to have as much storage because they can reuse the fluid for drilling. This is just the ball valve in the front of the hopper to drain the hopper, and this is grease for the 2.5-inch bearing on the front of the auger.
Those are just inspection holes. They're just watching to make sure there's normal operation, no sand is bridging up, things of that nature. Augers are turning. And you'll see as you come up the back of the tank, anything that's raised above the walking surface will be painted red. And then we've also got this non-slip or slip-resistant surface that we paint on. And then you'll also see the handrails at the very back are affixed in the up position. And then as we move forward, when we're setting up the tank, we'll pick the handrails up so that we're always covered. This is the e-stop button, and the primary function of this is if you're having any troubles, any issues, you can hit this button and it'll stop both augers at the same time. Another safety feature on all the Sandex units and Royal units and our generators as well is we ensure that there's a safety rod grounding rod and a ground wire connected to each one for grounding and bonding purposes on location.